Hey guys, today we're going to go through a PAILs and a RAILs sitting in the 90-90 position. So that gives us the opportunity to activate the front hip external rotation and the back hip internal rotation. And what I really love about it is that it engages all of the tissue all through the joint that you're trying to work on. So it engages the cartilage, the bone, the joint capsule, the ligament, the tendon, the muscle. So we're not really thinking about this as, say, a glute stretch or a hip flexor stretch. We're just thinking about it as engaging and stretching all of the tissues from the front and the back of a joint going in a particular range of motion. I'll explain more as I go, but before I get there, the number one rule is that none of this should hurt. So when we're in the 90-90 position, if just being in this position hurts, this isn't the exercise for you. And then as we work, I'm going to tell you to activate certain parts of your body, and if that activation hurts, just really back off. You don't have to ramp up the intensity like we will here. Just go to a level of intensity that works for you. There shouldn't be any pain. First step though is to sit into the 90-90 position, which means that one shin is going to be parallel to the back thigh, and then this back knee is also going to be at 90 degrees as well. First of all, what we're going to focus on is this front hip external rotation. So you should be feeling stretch mostly at the back of the front hip. What we're going to do to achieve that is sit up nice and tall. Imagine that string from the crown of your head. Hinge forwards from the hip, so I'm not slumping my back, I'm hinging forwards from the hip. Another little strategy you can use is imagine someone's pulling your tailbone backwards behind you by a string, and that's just going to scoop into that posterior aspect of the hip. Once you feel a little bit of tension through the back of this front hip, we're getting good external rotation there. Then we're going to start to use a contraction. So we're going to what's called irradiate. We're going to be tensing the muscles, not just in the hip, but throughout our whole body, gradually ramping up the intensity. The way we're going to tense them is by imagining pushing your whole shin down into the floor. So I'm pushing my knee and my foot straight down. So I've got the stretch, my tailbone is being dragged backwards, and then push straight down, gradually building up the intensity. As you build up the intensity, it's no longer just your leg pushing, it's your whole body. So my abs are pushing, my back muscles are pushing, my arms are stabilizing, the shoulders push harder and harder. If it's pain-free, we'll build up to about 10 seconds. And then relax, and now we're going to go into the rail, which means we're going to activate the closed side. So imagine there's a balloon between your thigh and your belly, and you're going to, so what you're trying to do is pull the leg up, but because you're in a stretch you can't do it, so we're going to pull up. Imagine trying to pop a balloon, and same as before, ramp up the intensity as long as it's pain-free. Sometimes the rails can be a bit crampy, you might get cramp in the groin. If you do, shake it through. It's just a sign that your brain and the muscles aren't really used to contracting in this closed angle, and the more you do it, the better it will get, but obviously don't work through cramp. So if cramps happen, let go, keep pulling, and then we'll relax. Now that we've done a PAIL and a RAIL, we're just going to sink into this a little bit further and just relax for a bit longer and breathe. We've done all the hard work for the PAIL on this front leg, so you can just relax in this new range of motion. Okay. Now we're going to go into the back hip internal rotation. So the front leg can stay at 90 if you want it to, but that's not really essential anymore. So if you want to tuck that back to be a bit more comfortable, that's fine. The goal with this, if you can reach your opposite hand to knee and same side hand to the heel, that's a goal. Some of you may have quite limited internal rotation there, so you might just be sitting back here and still feel tight here, and that's fine. If that's the case, over time your goal is just to get to upright, then to have your hands in front of you, and then gradually to work your hands towards the leg. Here, same approach. We're going to sit up nice and straight, hinge forwards a little bit so I don't have much range here. And now we've got this fairly tight feeling through the front of this back hip, and even the groin as well. So we're training this internal rotation. The irradiation, the contraction of the PAIL, the first one, is going to be to push this whole leg down into the floor. So I'm pushing the whole shin down into the floor, gradually ramping up the intensity. And as the intensity ramps up, I have to engage other parts of my body, including my abs, my core, and my shoulders. Squeeze that foot down, and then as you relax, we're going to try and lift this leg up off the floor and slightly with the heel slightly higher. So it's almost like I'm trying to do that with the heel rolling up. So I'm going to try and contract all of those muscles that would be doing that if I could, but I can't. Contract, 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 and relax. And then with that relax, you can just go further into it. Now you can repeat these again on the same sides. So you could do the external rotation again and the internal rotation again. My rule is you have to ask yourself, could you do it with the same intensity that you just did it? This is quite intense and you're activating things that may not have been activated for a long time. And if you think to yourself, oh, I couldn't do it at that intensity again, that's you done for the day. And then you just go to the other side. If you feel like you've got enough energy in those deep connective tissues, deep muscles to do it at the same intensity, you can do it again. But for now, if you're following along, I'll just get you to do the other side. If you're not following along, you get the idea now. And hopefully that was helpful in understanding the PAILs and the RAILs in the 1990. For those of us who are doing it live, let's do the other side. So we're going to find this external rotation. Sit up nice and tall, string from the head, and we're just going to lean forwards. Once you've got that stretch, engage it even more by imagining that tailbone being dragged backwards by a string. And once you've got the stretch, then we'll just push the leg down into the floor, irradiating gradually, increasing the intensity as long as it's not pain-free. And then as the intensity crosses over kind of that 50% mark, you have to start really using other parts of your body to push harder and harder into the floor, up to 10 seconds, and then we'll relax. And now I'm going to try and pop that imaginary balloon between my thigh and my abs, but not forgetting to try and also lift the foot off. It's not just the knee, it's the whole leg. I'm trying to drag towards me, gradually ramping up intensity, and then relax, and you can just hinge further forwards. Even though you're relaxed now, it's important not to slump. So we're still trying to maintain good posture as we go a little bit deeper into this position. And then once that feels settled, we're going to focus on this back hip internal rotation. Remember, the front leg becomes slightly less important now, so just put it to a position that feels comfortable. The goal is to get opposite hand to knee and same side hand to heel, and then that will just help you pull through into that hip internal rotation. Sit up nice and tall, but it's still okay if your hands are just down on the floor or even behind you if you need to lean back a little bit. But we're going to lean forwards as far as you feel comfortable, and once you've found the point that you want to work from, push that whole leg down, foot and knee down into the floor. Gradually building up intensity. As the intensity increases, other parts of your body will activate, including your abs and your shoulders. And then relax. And now we're going to try and lift up. We're going to try and lift up that leg with the heel slightly higher than the knee, but you can't because you're in stretch. So just try though. That's the action we're trying to achieve. Gradually increasing intensity. And then relax, and then find that good posture again, and just relax into it, just breathing, trying to sink into that new range. Okay, good. So I only did the functional range conditioning course a couple of weeks ago, and I can't tell you how many of my patients have gone away with that exercise in just the last 2 weeks. I'm finding it very helpful personally, and I'm finding it helpful for my patients with low back problems and people who just play sport and need more control and dynamic range of motion in the hips. So that's the point. I hope it helps. Something else that I've learned from the functional range conditioning course is a CARS routine, a controlled articular rotations routine, which I will leave you up here. And until next time, have a healthy and happy week.